It's time for Patriot Uprising with Timothy Shea.
Tray tables to their upright and locked positions.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Clear for takeoff.
It's a long way to the top if you wanna rock and roll.
Alrighty then, welcome back to Patriot Uprising with Timothy Shea. Hopefully tonight we have sound, everything looks good. I think, let me just check here, make sure we're getting levels. We're getting levels, so now we got to go back out here, make this full screen. Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain. People were wondering what that double screen is. That's the OBS control board. Should be on a second monitor, but my UBS ports are busted and they won't support the second monitor, so we're making do. All right. Trumped again. I do hope that the lawsuits keep going forward, though, because he needs to win those lawsuits, because here's the thing. The controversy isn't putting the question on the census. The controversy was that Obama took it off. It had been asked for decades. And Obama took it off. So now all of a sudden, it's un-American to ask whether you're an American citizen on an American census? Are you kidding me? Look, every single thing these people say is either a lie or based on a lie, and nothing they do or say makes sense until you realize they hate you, they hate me, they hate America. You know, Trump is the most evil person to ever be put on the face of the earth since George W. Bush was, right? We had 8 years of Bush derangement syndrome. Now, I had a lot of disagreements with President Bush, but I didn't have Bush derangement syndrome. These people are deranged. People ask, you know, Tim, from a young age, you've been conservative. I went to the Conservative Party convention in 1970. I was 8 years old. I got to meet James Buckley, who was running for state Senate, or for U.S. Senate, and statewide. And he actually won that election. It's the only time that a third-party candidate has won statewide election in New York State. People say, you know, that's an awfully young age to be so conservative. Winnie said, you know, Churchill said that if a young man's not liberal, he has no heart, and if he's not a conservative when he's older, he has no brain. Well, it's not that I didn't have a heart. I just got to see behind the curtain. At a very young age, I started working campaigns with my dad, just leafleting in 1968. See, my cousins ran the Democrat Party in Syracuse, and our next door neighbors out to the lake, the cottage my grandfather built with his own two hands, and then later our neighbor in town was one of the sons of the mayor of Syracuse, who went on to become our congressman. Another one of his sons, who now owns the cottage immediately next door to my family's cottage, who used to work for my dad, became our congressman. So I've seen behind Republican and Democrat Party politics. My cousin was the mayor of Syracuse for the time. I'll never forget working the 1972 campaign. We were just working on a local campaign. There was a guy who was a Republican, and he was corrupt, town official. So my father was working for the Democrat. Because at that level, Democrat or Republican doesn't really make that much of a difference back then, back, almost 50 years ago, 1972. And the guy that was running on the Republican ticket was corrupt. So they needed to get rid of him. And the only way to get rid of a Republican in that town was to run a Democrat against him. So they ran this guy against him, and he was fine. And Sam was a good man, and he ended up doing a great job for the town. It's not about Sam. It's about the people that were working on Sam's campaign that I got to meet. It's about Gus and his wife and a whole bunch of other people that were flaming liberals. Flaming. And I got to see. I was allowed, even though I was only 10 years old, the rule was, you can sit at the table with the adults and listen to the conversation as long as you don't chime in, because you're 10 years old and you don't have anything important to say. So I just sat there soaking it all up. And I heard how these people were talking. And I heard how they were talking about Dick Nixon. And I heard how they were talking about that goofy senator from South Dakota, George McGovern. I remember the 1968 Democrat National Convention. I remember watching it on TV. I was the little Alex P. Keaton. I actually had my brother and sister watching it on TV. Made them little paper sashes out of blue Scott's toilet paper that I wrote in marker on, Nixon 1968. The protesters, the Alinsky protesters that were outside protesting the Democrat convention. Remember, these leftists hated the Democrat establishment. They hated Humphrey. They hated the Vietnam War, which was basically LBJ's doing. Kennedy would not have had us in the Vietnam the way, to the extent that LBJ did. So the protesters that were outside in 68, many of them were on the floor in Miami Beach in 72 as delegates. Okay, and so I saw all this going on. Why do I bring this all up? 2 reasons. Number 1, the Democratic Party died on the streets of Chicago outside the 1968 DNC. It's been the Communist Party in America ever since. Okay, 2, what are we seeing now? We're seeing AOC and Incest Omar and Tali Baba calling Nancy Pelosi a racist. So again, we have the radical, hard communist left, because that's what they are, except with Tali Baba and Incest Omar, it's the Red-Green Alliance. See, Red-Green Alliance. That's why we're not red. We're blue. We're blue. Republican is true blue. Democrat is the same as Labour in England, is the same as the Communist Party, red. We are blue, they are red. Tim Russert flipped it in 2000 so that people wouldn't associate Democrats with communism. Okay, well, Tim's been dead a long time. That election was 19 years ago. It's time for us to take back the blue. We're seeing the same thing now. We're seeing the communist, the hard left communist faction calling out the establishment, calling out Schumer, calling out Pelosi. Okay, it's interesting. They're cannibalizing themselves. I said that the Democrat Party might very well go the way of the Whigs. Here's another thought that I had last week, and I've got a call into he's not really an election attorney, but he's got a lot of experience in the political arena with PACs and super PACs and all the corporate structures you use in the political arena. And I was thinking, Bernie's got no grounds to be upset that they stole the election from him, because the Democrat Party is a private corporation and they get to make their own rules. The people that might have legitimate standing to sue would be the people that donated to Bernie, because they donated to Bernie in good faith, and if the DNC stole the election from him via legerdemain, that's essentially defrauding Bernie's voters. Okay, you see how that works? They would have standing to sue, arguably. And then I got thinking, but if the Democrat Party is a corporation, and corporations are overseen by state attorneys general, and corporations can be sued, why couldn't we sue the DNC for spying on citizen Trump, spying on then candidate Trump? You know, why couldn't we sue the DNC for fraud in making the allegations that their email servers were hacked? If the DNC is a private corporation, which it is, why can it not be subject to all of the requirements and all of the penalties that large corporations are guilty, you know, are used to hold large corporations accountable? I think there's an interesting law review article in there, if nothing else. Let's go over, you know, today was just, Bob Barr had all he could do to keep the smirk off his face when the president took the podium. Because today was freaking genius. Because Trump, again, he's like, I'm going left, I'm going left, I'm going left, I'm going, yeah, I think I'll go right instead. He's going to use an executive order to order the agencies to violate a court order, and he's going to do this, and it's going to be the way. And he's like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is have agencies talk to each other. So every agency that already has citizenship information, and if you don't think HHS has citizenship information, you don't know what's in a medical record. Any agency that has citizenship information, yeah, we want you to give that information to the Department of Commerce for use with the census. Now, why is that important? Because if we find out that through data collection and data mining that we have 3.7 million illegals in California, spoiler alert, it's a lot more, and then the census numbers might be reduced by 3.7 million. And we know where those people live, so those congressional districts, they might not see as much representation as they want to see with all their illegal votes and their illegal residents. So they're going splody head. They've been trumped. They know it. They're screwed. So the only thing they can do is say, Trump back down! The first articles that came out, Trump back down on citizenship question! Yeah, no, he didn't. Trump trumped you again. You lose. It was genius. Pure genius. And earlier we had the social media symposium. Diamond and Silk was there. They got a little love from the president. Lila Rose was there, who was phenomenal. You know, people were there that apparently got their Twitter accounts back. Well, Mr. President, at TimboTim62 never came back. So how about showing a little love this way? Okay, let's go over to, I'm going to go to the desktop. Pull up the Drudge Report and we'll see what's going on today. Take a look at some articles. We've got a big, beautiful 27,000 Dow. Although, as my friend Nathan Gertz has been warning us for quite some months now, a couple quarters actually, there are signs of weakening, and I have said that the only thing that can derail his re-election is an economic downturn. So we need to make sure that that does not happen. We've got a big storm in Louisiana. You know, you've never been to Louisiana if you haven't been evacuated from Louisiana. I guess that's the thing. You know, Las Vegas has what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. New Orleans can have, you haven't been to NOLA unless you've been evacuated from NOLA. So they're going to get a whole lot of rain, so I hope things don't end up bad down there. This we're not happy about at all. Federal spending smashes records. Budget deficit widens 23%. he's got to do something about this, okay? I said all along that I would give him credit for things that were credit worthy, and I would criticize him when criticism is due. And I understand, getting the military funded, that was important and everything else, but he has now gone on record as saying, I will never sign another one of these, and he needs to stick to that. We need to start paying down this debt. Not just taking care of the deficit, which is the annual shortfall. We need to start paying down the debt. And it's going to be tough because one guy, and don't you love how all of a sudden the Democrats are so worried about spending? He stole $30 million from the Parks Department to pay for his military parade. Like, well, what he spent on the military parade was a drop in the bucket, lady, compared to what Obama spent. And all of a sudden, they're all worried about presidential golf. They weren't worried about presidential golf when their false messiah was in office. It's everything on the left is complete and utter BS. So now they're all worried about the budget deficit. And it's like, well, yeah, how did we get here? W was bad enough. My biggest criticism with W was the last 2 years of his administration, all the spending and the TARP and everything else. But Obama doubled the debt. Doubled. They're talking, these asshats are talking about federal spending and wasteful spending. Excuse me, cash for clunkers? Shovel-ready jobs? Solyndra? They have zero credibility, zero standing. Biden vows to restore the world order. He's only been in politics for 40 years. So this is probably the most honest thing he said, though. Biden vows to restore world order. Yeah. I vow, if I'm elected, that the global elites will once again run the country. Yeah, thanks, Joe. We're good. We're going to take a hard pass on that. Ooh, this is interesting. Haven't seen this. White House social media summit nearly descends into brawl. Let's find out what this is. I have not seen this from my favorite newspaper, the New York Post, but there's Dr. Gorka. I guess Seb went after a White House reporter. It was a fracas at the White House. President Trump's social media summit on Thursday almost descended into a brawl when Sebastian Gorka got into a brief shouting match with a White House reporter in the Rose Garden. Gorka, a former advisor to Trump, was sitting near the front row with several social media provocateurs. We're provocateurs now. I will wear that badge proudly, even though I wasn't invited. Can I be a social media provocateur? During Trump's announcement about the census. When Trump finished his remarks in the Rose Garden, Gorka walked past the White House press pool where he got into a brief shouting match with Playboy correspondent Brian Karem. Okay, maybe we shouldn't be having Playboy having correspondence at the White House. Because, when I really jonesing for some political information, Playboy is my go-to source. What the hell's Playboy doing there? Gorka called Karem a punk during the dust-up. Well, he probably is a punk. Several of the attendees, including Joy Villa, repeatedly chanted, Gorka, 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 as he left. Another attendee of the social media summit, Mark Dice, whom I love, a right-wing pundit, also shouted at CNN's Jim Acosta as he walked by the press corps. I want to see video of Dice taking out Acosta. That would be brilliant. Tommy Robinson jailed again because we can't have free speech in the UK. Let's see. President said that fake media industry will fold when he leaves office. I don't know that that's true, but I know that I know a lot of people are losing their jobs. A lot of companies are going out of business. Here's a shocker. No evidence of any added benefit in most new drugs. You think? These things are just designed to stay on patent so that they can charge outrageous prices because the ones that work are now off patent and they can't charge exorbitant fees for them anymore. iPhone owners could be spied on through microphone controlled by watch. Well, I don't own an iPhone watch or an Apple Watch. So, but for those of you to do, that's another one. Here's a dude that gets bitten by sharks on purpose. And actually, that's kind of a cool job if you know you're going to be safe. They've got all the armor and everything else. The problem is when Shark A is biting you, what if Shark B comes like down and just chomps your head? You're focused on the shark on your arm. What about the shark that comes up and munches your head? So hopefully, they've got a stunt double in there. They've got a second that will go in with the bang stick and get rid of any other sharks. Let's see. Occasional Cortex wants to axe Homeland Security. Well, she's from the Bronx, so what does she want to axe Homeland Security? What question does she want to axe? I think I said on a Fox News post, the post said she favors disbanding ICE and DHS, and I said I favor disbanding the entire freshman class, the entire Democrat freshman class. So I think she's going to have a hard time in the primary, and I think I think my friend Marion said that there's a good Republican running against her, but that people are not that happy in their district. Florida sheriff deputy arrested after planting drugs on innocent people. Okay, look, we love and support our military and our law enforcement officers. That doesn't mean that they are all saints just because they wear the uniform. We can't be having this, okay? We can't be having cops planting evidence, even if it's on bad guys, okay? I don't want a bad guy locked up because of planted evidence. I don't want a bad guy locked up because of perjury. The thin blue line. Test-a-lying, they call it. We don't want that. We don't want a police state. We want liberty and justice for all. That means the bad guys too. So if you're going to get the bad guys, you got to do it by staying within the lines. The eyes may be the key to spotting dementia. I can tell you right now, it's a surefire way to spot the cray-cray. I can spot the cray-cray from 5 miles away now. Took me a long time to develop that skill. So here's the president's twatter. He had a great thread earlier, and I'm going to read it to you because it was classic. Let's see. Here we go. He triggered them so badly. It was a beautiful thing. Today I'm directing my administration to explore all regulatory and legislative solutions. Nope, that's after the fact. Where is it? Where's the first one in this thread? Show this thread. We need to see the whole thread. Here we go. A big subject today at the White House Social Media Summit will be the tremendous dishonesty, bias, discrimination, and suppression practiced by certain companies. We will not let them get away with it much longer. The fake news media will also be there, but for a limited period. The fake news is not as important or as powerful as social media. They have lost tremendous credibility since that day in November 2016 that I came down the escalator with the person who was to become your future First Lady. I think he means June of 2015. They lost tremendous credibility since the day in November that he won the election. When I ultimately leave office in 6 years, or maybe 10 or 14, Just kidding. Because you know they're all, see, he's a wannabe dictator. He's not going to leave. He wants to be dictator for life. Like, get a life, people. He trolls them beautifully. 6 years, or maybe 10 or 14. Just kidding. They will quickly go out of business for lack of credibility or approval from the public. That's why they will all be endorsing me at some point, one way or the other. Can you imagine having Sleepy Joe Biden or Alfred E. Newman or a very nervous and skinny version of Pocahontas 1/10/24 as your president rather than what you have now? So great looking and smart. A true stable genius. They really think he's serious. These people are so stupid that they think he is being serious here. That's how stupid they are. Sorry to say that even social media would be driven out of business along with, and finally, the fake news business. Fake news media. It was just genius. You know, he turned the trolling up to 11. Their heads have been exploding left and right. And then he comes out and he says that we're going to have the agencies all share information on the illegals that they already have, and they realize that they've been trumped and there's nothing they can do now. And all I hear coming out of Central Ohio is, Ree! Is that Bev, Susie? I think the old gal's having a meltdown. It's just brilliant. Today I'm directing my administration to explore all regulatory, these are the two words I picked up on in the presser today, regulatory and legislative solutions to protect the free speech rights of all Americans. That means we are not going to grant them exemptions from the rules based on the fact that they are merely content neutral publishers, no, or content neutral platforms. No, they are opinionated publishers. They are point of view publishers because it can be demonstrably shown that they are stifling conservative speech and promoting liberal speech. Just look at what Lila Rose said today. The twatter would not let her run pro-life ads, but Planned Parenthood got to run pro-abortion ads. So they're going to explore all regulatory and legislative solutions to protect the free speech rights of all Americans. We hope to see more transparency, more accountability, and more freedom. And then a nice message to the folks on the Gulf Coast. He's not a fan of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, which are not money. They're not. Their value is highly volatile and based on thin air. It is. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. Similarly, and why is he all of a sudden talking about crypto? Here we go. Similarly, Facebook Libra's virtual currency will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter and become subject to all banking regulations, just like other banks, both national and international. We have only one real currency in the USA, and it is stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it will always stay that way. It is called the United States dollar. Okay, let's get that from being a Federal Reserve note back to being a United States note, though, Mr. President. But so that, those tweets right there, because I'll tell you right now, Bitcoin and crypto are a huge way that shills are receiving money. If you see anybody with a Bitcoin on their page, you know that they're a paid shill, because that's how money is getting laundered to the shills, okay, is using Bitcoin and crypto. It's also, there's a lot of sketchy transactions being done with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So that's just another telltale way that you can use your discernment to figure out who is trustworthy and who isn't. Oh, here's David Harris. asking
challenging
questions. I didn't hear
the
this one
media
because they cut it off.
gatekeepers and the corporate
Oh, and
censors to
you
bring
can't hear
the
it here
facts.
because if I turn the microphone on, it won't. You won't hear it on the Boxcast. I've got Boxcast selected as my sound output, not the speakers. So we can't hear video on this computer. Let's see, what else do we got going on? I wanted to share these with you. DiscoverTheNetworks.org. Okay, this is a David Horowitz production. Good articles here. Okay, David Horowitz Freedom Center. Good articles here. Rosie O'Donnell to Biden, your time has passed, sit this one out. Occasional Cortex wants to get rid of ICE and DHS. De Blasio. And by the way, did you see that little narcissist twat on the parade float in New York today? She's got a bottle of Veuve Grand Dame in one hand and the World Cup trophy in the other, and she's saying, I deserve this. I deserve this. So Biden's going to cut the incarceration rate by more than 50% if elected. So let's let even more criminals out. Well, probably, you know, he could cut the incarceration rate by more than 50% if he just pardons everybody that's going to go to jail soon. Between Epstein and the web of people that he's going to take down and all of the FISA crimes and all the indictments we're going to start seeing, he could probably reduce the incarceration rate 50% just by letting all those people out. So Zuckerberg admits banning pro-life ads on Facebook in Ireland. Nadler is investigating Trump for torture of children at border. You know, Oompa Loompa needs to just sit down and shut up. So this Discover the Networks is a good place to get some news. But that's not where the real fun is. That's discoverthenetworks.org. But if you go to discoverthenetworks.com, look at this. And it says discoverthenetworks.org, but it's the .com. Welcome to Discover the Networks. This website describes the networks and agenda of the political left. This right here, folks, is your encyclopedia of the left. It's got everything. It's got individuals, groups, funders, issues, jihad, politics, arts and culture, academia, media, books, defining the left, the black book of the American left. We got hotspots, Barack Obama, his life, agendas, and allies, the left's war against minorities and the poor, the Cloward pivot strategy, social change through orchestrated crisis, Saul Alinsky, godfather of community organizing, George Soros and the Shadow Party, Occupy Wall Street, the Communist Movement Reborn, the Muslim Brotherhood's agendas, allies, and front groups, Radical Islam's alliance with the socialist left. This is the red-green alliance that we keep talking about. Benghazi, Hate America history. Okay, all great stuff. Andrew Stern, Samantha Power, Harry Reid, Nancy Pelosi, Richard Trumka, Francis Fox Piven, you know, of Cloward and Piven fame, Al Not So Sharpton, Dennis Kucinich. Do you know his dad was a mailman? Bill Ayers, Anthony Weiner. Oh, I guess that was John Kasich. I'm sorry, that wasn't Kucinich, that was Kasich. So, a great treasure trove for you. DiscoverTheNetworks.com. I don't know why all of a sudden it got huge. There we go. So let's just take a look at funders. If you go to funders, community foundations, corporate foundations, family foundations, operating foundations, which are private foundations that use most of their income to provide charitable services or programs, okay? Operating foundations are the boots on the ground foundations. Other foundations basically just contribute to operating foundations. It's all one big money laundering operation. Okay, foreign countries will donate to a big foundation. They skim off the top, and then they donate it to an operating foundation. Here's a guide to the George Soros Network. Government funding of the left. Hyde Center, Liberty Hill Foundation, Ford Foundation. It's just, I wanted to share this resource with you. Someone shared it with me yesterday, and I was like, how did I not know about this? It's been around since 2003, and I just found out about it yesterday. But it is a veritable cornucopia of copious information on the left. So feel free to do your research on discoverthenetworks.com. Even though this says .org, .org gets you to this page, which is the in the news, the online database of the left, etc. But if you go to .com, you get into here and you get all these links. It's a lot easier. All right. That's pretty much it. I think I covered most everything I covered last night. Oh, except for Mr. Marcus. I want you ladies to know how you have been manipulated. And I'm speaking to you ladies because it was you who were manipulated, okay? Home Depot is the greatest place to get tools and hardware and do all sorts of things for your, your do-it-yourselfer. Great garden center, etc. So Lowe's wasn't doing a good job of competing with Home Depot. Pretty much because their house brand products are absolute crap. That Cobalt brand stuff is horrible, and they just weren't as good as Home Depot. Home Depot was beating the pants off them because Home Depot was a better place. But women didn't like Home Depot because Home Depot is orange. The colors are orange and gray, and women didn't like going in there. It felt like going into a warehouse or a factory, and they just didn't feel comfortable. So Lowe's spent millions of dollars doing this study. Why didn't women like Home Depot? And they found out why. And then, what colors would women like? Well, they like a nice rich blue and red. And so what are Lowe's colors? Blue, gray with a red stripe. Okay? Lowe's specifically did this. They literally spent millions of dollars on this study to pander to women, to get them to come in, to make the store more inviting. Which, that's fine. That's called competition, right? But now, leftist twats want to destroy Home Depot and all of the people that work for Home Depot and all of the suppliers that supply through Home Depot. Why? Because Mr. Marcus, who hasn't been affiliated with the company for 20 years, he had the temerity to say that he supports the president. How dare a man in the industry that serves the building industry that's absolutely booming under this president, how dare he say that he supports this president? You see, the left will never be appeased. There is no way you will ever make them happy because it is constant. It's the camel under the nose under the tent, right? They will never, ever, ever be happy. Trying to make the left happy is a fool's errand. Only an insane person would do it. So the only possible response to the left, right there, that's the only acceptable response to the left. You need to not concede 1 millimeter to these people. And the ones you all know in your suburban groups and the moms and the this and the dads that are out and Trump's a mean, bad, orange man bad type person. All they are is useful idiots. All they do is parrot what their TV tells them to parrot. They loved Donald Trump until their TV told them to hate him. So don't listen to all of these protests. And even if you like Lowe's, that's fine. Lowe's is a good store. I'm not crazy about their home brand, their store brand products, but it's a good place and it is nice to walk into. It's nicely decorated and whatnot. That's not when I'm going to buy tools, I don't care how the place looks. I care about the quality of the tools that they sell and the price at which they sell them, okay? But even if you like Lowe's, that's fine. Give your business for the next while to Home Depot, okay? We've got to not let these people use their economic terrorism, and that's what they are. These people are domestic terrorists. You cannot allow them to use their economic terrorism against Home Depot just because the founder of Home Depot said that he supports our president, who is incredibly handsome and stable genius. And what else did he say to them? What else was in that tweet? It was great. He's just trolling them like mad. All right. That's all I've got. Until next time, God bless you. God bless these United States. Keep fighting the good fight.